Here, the Richard Holden, the Transport Minister. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
It's good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Talk to me, if you would please, about buses. £2, you can go very far on £2 on a bus, if there is a bus, because lots of them have been cancelled.
No, that's true. So I think you're right to highlight reliability, and one of the things that we've been really targeting since the end of the pandemic is trying to get that reliability back. It's much better than it was. We've still got further to go, but things like driver shortages are being tackled. This package is a really big package. Takes the total support we've given since 2020 to the sector to around £3.5 billion. It's another £500 million today, and that's going to provide real certainty in two ways. First of all, we're going to provide £150 million a year for the next 2 years to the bus sector to enable them to support those service levels as they are now. And also we're providing extra cash for households and with a £2 bus cap all the way through to the 31st of October. This is a second extension we've done. And then there'll be a £2.50 cap from the 1st of November all the way through to November next year as well, because I know from my own constituency, but also right across the country, how pressed people are when it comes to cost of living, particularly bus users who are often people in lower paid work, and I want to do what we can to help.
But 1 in 10 bus routes axed over the last year, Minister.
No, exactly, and I don't want to see any more fall. That's exactly why we've put
How are you going to get them back up again?
Well, that's why we've put the cash in there at the moment over the next 2 years. We've also put over £1 billion into bus service improvement plans across the country for some of our biggest areas. One of those was signed off just a couple of weeks ago for the north east of England, which is really targeting some of those routes as well. So, yes, we've seen some issues, but unlike the SNP in Scotland or Labour in Wales, you know, we've had this bus fare cap, which I think should really help people, particularly lower-paid workers who need to move a distance on the bus every day, really helping save their costs on that. But also, we're putting this extra cash in, and I've announced that for the next 2 years to give bus companies certainty, because at the moment they've been having to wait 3 months to 3 months to see exactly what cash they'll be getting. OK, talk to me about the Renters Reform Bill, if you would please, Minister. A lot of my younger members of my team very exercised by this particular story. It comes with more powers for landlords to evict people for antisocial behaviour. What would antisocial behaviour mean? Well, can I just take an issue from my own constituency? What I often get is people complaining about tenants living next door who've come in, causing real problems in their area, or, persistent, really late night noise, all that sort of thing. That's what we need to stop, and because it's not about the landlords, it's about the other tenants who might live in the same block or in the same street as somebody else. I think on the other side,
what is antisocial behaviour?
Well, antisocial behaviour does have to be decided either by the police or the courts, right? That's where.
So dogs barking. That's where it lies. But if antisocial behaviour.
But if it's relentless and all night, then definitely, particularly in some of my poorer communities, there are real issues with antisocial behaviour from some tenants. On the other side, we do need to protect tenants' rights. And look, I didn't own my own home till I was in my mid-30s. You know, I rented all the way through, and there are a variety of landlords, some good, some not so good. But I think ending no-fault eviction is a sensible thing to do. Allowing people to have pets is a good thing to do as well. And also, some of those restrictions around people, not being able to have children in certain properties and things like that, I think also being removed. I think we're going to strike the right balance here between ensuring that renters can have somewhere safe and secure to live and have a normal life there, and also ensure that some rogue tenants don't disrupt an entire neighbourhood for people as well.
OK, so you didn't have your own property till you were in your mid-30s?
No, I didn't buy my first home, no.
You don't look as though you're in your mid-30s now.
Oh, that's generous of you.
Talk to me about the suggestion in the paper this morning that refugees could be moved into the private renting sector and more people could be put into smaller spaces to try to solve the issues that you've got with migrants.
Well, one of the issues that we saw over the last few years is around hotel accommodation. And even with some of the refugees we've brought in from places like Syria, we've seen people, or Afghanistan, stuck in hotel accommodation for far too long, and getting them out of that accommodation into longer-term accommodation, which means that actually, talking about families, for example, kids can put down roots in schools and things like that. That's got to be the right way forwards. All we want to see is people dispersed out into the country who've got that proper refugee status, who we've brought here in the right way, and so that they can actually set down roots. I've had some people from the Syrian refugee scheme moved into my own constituency who had been in temporary accommodation. What we want to see is if we do have people who've come through those proper proper schemes that they're able to set up lives here in the UK and support their families as well.
But what are you going to do to make sure that some landlords don't pile in as many refugees as they possibly can into a property?
Well, I mean,
what safeguards are going to be?
We've already got safeguards around what's known as houses of multiple occupancy,
yes,
which so it means it's illegal for you to have more than certain numbers of people in properties.
But according to the paper this morning, that's going to be relaxed somewhat.
Well, I think one of the biggest concerns that everybody has at the moment is large numbers of refugees being kept in some areas for very long periods of time, just like we've seen with the illegal migrants who we're also trying to deal with. What we want to do is get these people, if they're genuine refugees, dispersed out into the country as quickly as possible so they can set down roots, enter employment, ensure their kids can get into school. And if they're not legal, then we want to get them into these other facilities that we're looking at now, like the barges or the former military bases, so that they can be processed as quickly as possible as well. I think it's sensible to not have people costing millions of pounds a day in hotel accommodation, which also can be a real issue for when they're put into small towns, often with the only accommodation available, because you can understand from the other side, the people who might own the hotels, it's guaranteed income. We need to move away from that to something which ensures that those with the genuine right to be here are looked after, part of the community, and those who aren't get moved on as quickly as possible.
Yeah, but my question was, how are you going to make sure that we don't see lots of refugees or migrants piled into small spaces?
Well, we do have rules around houses of multiple occupancy. We'll have to see exactly what the proposals being brought forwards are, but those are pretty strict at the moment. I'm not exactly sure what the HMO relaxations might be, but they are very stringent at the moment, and I wouldn't like to see them move too far in any area.
Just before I let you go, the shortest-serving Prime Minister ever, causing trouble for the British government, some might say, in Taiwan. What's she up to?
Well, I mean, Liz is a backbencher now. I used to be a backbencher not that long ago. She can go around and say what she likes. Look,
it's not helpful, though, is it?
Well, I think we've all moved on from that era now. I think what we want to see is what we've got in Rishi, which is a Prime Minister who's concentrated on what the people's priorities are.
So we shouldn't be taking any notice of her?
Well, I would just say let's concentrate on what we've got now. Right? The Prime Minister's been focused over the winter in paying basically half of people's energy bills, because we know the Russian invasion of Ukraine has sent everything through the roof. He's paid for that with a windfall tax on energy companies. On the other side as well, it's all of that support he put in through COVID, like with furlough. Now with our announcement today on things like buses, we're trying to keep inflation down. We're really hit. We've got priorities.
So shut up, Liz.
Top of those is inflation. I just say, we should all be team players. And at the moment, we've got the biggest priority for my constituents, and I think for the British people, is getting prices under control. And getting economic growth back. So, those are the things we should be doing. That's what the Prime Minister will be doing this week in Japan.
We are out of time, Minister. It's good to see you as always.
Good to see you, Kay.